It's heartbreaking to see a world so scarred. But the purge is necessary. I can see a bright, shining future here, once it's finally free of the mortals who defile it like the barbarous vermin they are. It won't be long until this planet's reborn as a utopia. You mortal menace, my final judgment is now upon you. Take this! Funny, you have no chance of victory. Yet you continue this resistance, knowing full well you can't win. You Saiyans are so fascinating in your flaws. Don't you see I'm helping you? Soon you'll be with her, and the other creatures you love. You're the creature! You took her from me! You've taken everything! Good riddance, Saiyan.
Goku Black is just one of those characters who have been consistently nerfed and buffed throughout the years. And although it's just his mode, he is one of the 9 characters to ever get a rework. To start out with, Goku Black dominated the meta back in 2020, and there are a couple of reasons for that. Not only was instant transmission usable, unlike it is now, but it could also be used as an evasive, which for 2020 standards is pretty good. And as well as Black Power Ball being much faster and actually usable in ones. And on top of that, this was back when you could use beams to ladder, so he actually did have a combo extender back then. But the only move that's worse than it is now is continuous Black Power Balls, because I don't believe you could combo extend with it back then. But his mode was pretty cool, with his iconic moves from the anime, like Twin Spirit Bomb and his infamous Blue Beam. But aside from Par, who made Goku Black back then, never seeing a single episode of Dragon Ball, nonetheless Goku Black's mode was actually super solid. But with a few nerfs and buffs thrown at him, he slowly fell out of the meta, getting outshined by better and better characters with better effects, and slowly faded into obscurity. But around this time 2 years ago, Snake said this, and 2 months later they released Itadori in the Goku Black update. Goku Black instantly soared to the top of the meta. Even with a subpar base, his mode was so good he could reverse 3-stock most characters. But what made his mode so good? Goku Black's mode was one of, if not the best on release. All 4 of his moves were super solid, but let's go over them one by one. Goku Black's 1 in mode, in my opinion, ties his whole kit together, and with the move actually being from Dragon Ball this time, even though it's from Fighter Z, and it being the closest thing to an alt, it's actually a super solid move. It's a block-breaking combo starter that lingers for a good amount of time and has a small amount of startup. And on top of that, it also does a good chunk of damage that leads to an easy 1 combo. Some would argue it's his best move, but next up, his 2. Goku Black's beam went from his iconic blue color to pink, but other than some special quirks, it's just your basic big beam, like Super Saiyan 3 Goku's or Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's father-son. But what's different about this is wherever someone gets hit, this ball or whatever pops up as they're getting hit, wherever they are, and the beam does a really good amount of damage. And if I find the exact number, I'll put it up on screen now, but anyways, on to his next skill. This move, as expected, is also really good. It's an auto-aim, teleport behind you move. While blockable, you need really good reaction time in order to block it, but I'm pretty sure the speed was nerfed since release. What also makes this move really excel is that it's also an evasive, which allows you to have a very aggressive playstyle, and it's really hard to get punished for playing like that. And lastly, we have Divine Lasso. This move, as expected, is also extremely good, especially on release. This move had an 8-second cooldown, and I think still does, but I'll double check and put it on screen here. And while this move was technically blockable, it wasn't really, as when you blocked it, the projectiles would scatter around you on the floor, and you would either have to tank it or get block broken. And with all of these moves, it allowed Goku Black players to pretty much play however they wanted, and win with little to no effort. And it was so bad he could 1-combo you with 0 M1s. And because of this, he instantly soared to the top of the meta, and remained there for a good while, but like every other insanely broken character that gets released, they get nerfed after a while. But how bad did the nerfs affect Goku Black? His first nerf wasn't until 11 days after he was released, when they just did an all-around damage nerf to Goku Black's mode. This change was made to make his mode somewhat fightable and not just a complete stomp, but the real changes didn't happen until around 6 months later after Goku Black was first released. Goku Black was hit with some really big nerfs to his base and only one change to his mode for some reason. Like how they drastically slowed down his black powerball speed, but on the bright side they fixed his hitbox and made it more accurate, I guess. And along with that, his instant transmission doesn't give a speed boost if you aren't going directly towards the player, which in my opinion defeats the whole purpose of how his kit was seemingly designed to be played. Not to mention that other very similar moves like flash steps and even other instant transmissions were left unchanged. But the last change his mode got was something I already mentioned before, the speed of his sudden death beam, so people have somewhat of a chance to try to react to it. But with all these changes and better characters getting released throughout the time, Goku Black just fell out of the limelight. But with one buff around 17 months after the last change Goku Black saw, there was a bit of a spike in the amount of people playing him, and this was because they actually gave him a combo extender with his Black Balls. His Black Balls was already a pretty solid move, and allowing it to combo extend gave Goku Black a bit of the time in the spotlight. Although it was short-lived, right now Goku Black is decently balanced, at least in my opinion. And yeah, he's not really great in 1s, but he's a pretty decent pick in 2s and 3, and in my opinion sits at a solid B tier. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about him. Thanks for watching. Also, I wanted to mention that one of my friends' friend is doing music, and if you're interested in that, check out the first link in the description.